Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Wartscenter, now with official branding. So we have we have a logo. It only took us 8 weeks, but we finally got a logo, and we're ready to break back in to see what's happened in the NKBBO over the last 2 weeks. I'm joined with a smaller staff today, but I've got Coach Cody and Coach Ivan here with me. How are you two doing?
I've been better.
I'm doing fantastic. Happy to be here.
Great. All right. Well, join me and let's look over the week 8 scores. So, maybe indicative of how these coaches said they were just doing, but the Manhattan Mutant Mayhem tie in a scoreless match against the SCLSU Mudclaws. The Los Alamos Aliens drop to the Undheim Mighty Rats, who are desperately fighting for a place in the playoff picture. The New England Matriarchs defeat the Vermin Skulkers 2-1. The Black Forest Guardians have a similar fate to the Mayhem, and they also put up a 0-0 tie against the Gloomstalker Dragonaires. The Elizabeth Attitude get it done 2-0 against the Snoo Snoos, and the Khazad-dûn Dark Iron defeat the Grung 2-1. And then finally, the Polypore Pipers get absolutely dog-walked against the Butcher's Bay Dragons in a quote-unquote friendly game, 5-0. That's the highest one.
There was nothing friendly about that.
No, that is the highest score I believe we've seen. Not in the league, but this season.
Mm-hmm. I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. But let's get into it. How'd your match go, Ivan?
Well, I mean, it oddly enough, not as bad one way or the other. The coach for the Mudclaws, Ray, he is just really good at playing defense, as am I. So what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object? It's Ray and I's game. We just a whole lot of nothing is recorded. But man, everything was happening on the field.
Mm-hmm.
All the weird little tricks that we flipped up to stop each other from scoring is frankly absurd.
Yep.
This actually would have been a good one to record, but unfortunately that was not the match of the week. But hey, we made each other really work for it. He did manage to get a casualty on me, 2 of them. One that mattered, however, he busted the movement of the fouling leader in the league, Alloplex.
Mm-hmm.
She has been fired. She is deep in the reserves training her replacement.
Okay.
And hopefully after this upcoming match, that replacement will be hired.
Excellent. Yeah, I was gonna say I was putting in the the sheets, and I was like, okay, because normally you start, you go, okay, turn 1, this happened, and then you're like, okay, maybe turn 2, turn 4, whatever. And I was literally like, turn 14. I said, I'm misreading something. Literally,
no,
there was an opening foul, and then nothing for 13 turns.
Lots of KOs. Lots of ball drops,
I mean, yeah, of course, there was a lot of Blood Bowl played, but wow, just to not have to even touch the score sheet for that long is insane.
No, it was a match of all time.
Heck yeah. Well, it's a shame we couldn't get that one, but maybe we'll get you on the big screen here soon.
More to come on that.
More later. To come on that. All right. So unfortunately, we don't have either of our coaches for the marquee matchup with us today. But
it's a shame. I would have loved to have heard their opinions on how they played.
Absolutely same. But I do have some notes. Allow me to pull them up from Coach Brando. He wanted to share, even though he wasn't able to make it. Brando says, despite trailing for most of the game, it felt tight for a majority of it. There was only a sequence that ended up working that helped swing the game one way, but he did his best to try to keep up with the Rats. Because as you can see, the score went... it is 2-1, which looks close, but it was 2 touchdowns for the Rats initially before Los Alamos came in at the end to make it close. When he watched back the VOD, he said he saw some mistakes and that he'll look to avoid in the coming week, and he'll need to avoid it if he wants to see himself in playoffs. But overall, he said it was a good game. He looks forward to the next matchup. So that is our word from Coach Brando.
I have a note from Coach Laws as well. Would you
Sure.
like me to
Excellent.
read it?
Yes, please. Let's hear it.
Squeak. Squeak. Oh dear. I'm sorry. It's just 2 pages of squeak.
Okay, well, very good. We
Yeah.
like that. But yeah, so both of these teams are jockeying for that position to get into the playoffs. So this was a huge matchup. But yeah, it went the Rats' way. So, all right, the Matriarchs take the Skulkers to Pound Town. It looks like lots of casualties, a couple scores, but didn't fully shut out the Skulkers as Stilltail managed to get himself a touchdown right before towards the end of the match.
Hey, you'll love to see it. Our Vermin Skulkers coach has only gotten better with each match, and I honestly think he will be one to watch next season.
Mm-hmm.
But looking at this match, you hate to see it. These damn Amazons, they come with their heels, and they stomp on rats. We have had so many stomped rats this season.
Yeah, the Skaven seem to be a good target for fouls this season. But yeah, I think the only thing else I wanted to note on this is that one of the casualties came from one of the Matriarchs' new linemen. We still never got her name. So if you see the 15, that's because the jersey number is 15. We haven't yet got the name. All right. So similar to Ivan's match, I also played my game to a draw. This one was insane. I knew going in that it was either a draw or a win would clinch playoffs for me. So we weren't necessarily trying to flat out win. I was happy to get out of there. 0-0, 1-1, 2-2, whatever it may be. But that is not exactly how this game was trending to go for a very long time. I started, the first half was really non-eventful. You notice the first event didn't even happen until turn 7. There were blocks, there were knockdowns, there were things, but nothing failed for a while, and no armor broke. Or maybe it did, but there was only like KOs and stuff like that, little things.
Know the feeling.
But right at about halftime is when everything flipped on its head, and Nuffle said, "This is going to be a game to watch." I get a casualty. He used the apothecary to get it back in reserves. Then he gets a casualty on my thrower, who had the ball, drops it. Not good. And then on turn 8, I had a chance to go pick up the ball and score for my half. All I needed to do was not roll a 1 into a 1, because it was a go for it, I believe, with a reroll, and failed both of those. So we go into half 0-0. I'm like, fuck, okay, I didn't score on my drive. 1 into 1, it happens. Then the second half, Dortmunder, who was the witch elf that the Dragonaires had just hired last week, takes a boot from Terry Treehead and dies. So she was on the roster for all of 1 week. Then Pines Ward gets involved, gets a casualty. The Dragonaires are starting to make their drive. They're doing a pretty good job. I think at this point, even though I am up a couple casualties, I'm down a lot in knockouts. So I try to hit Mammoth. He does the dump off pass, sends it over to Grudiger. That wasn't a dump off. I swarmed him, and then he was able to sneak out to the side, dump it off to Grudiger, and Grudiger takes off towards the end zone. Basically to a spot where he can't really score, or where I can't really catch him. However, he stalls for probably 1 turn too many. It was really looking like a loss for me, but he stalled 1 turn too many, and I pulled a bullshit. I have no rerolls left at this time. I pulled a 4+ dodge into a 3+ dodge into a 2+ dodge into a 2+ go for it, 2+ go for it, and it was my catcher. So I had another 2+ go for it to get a 1 die block on the ball carrier, managed to push him out. Then the ball scatters all the way back, kind of closer to where I was hold up, and then he gets the ball again. However, I blitz it again. He tries to dump off, and then for the third time this season, somebody intercepts the dump off. Forrest Stump got the interception, and then I had a chance to score on turn 16 to get something. I mean, there should have been 3 touchdowns in this game, and none of them worked out. Yeah, because all I had to do was get all I had to do was succeed a pass right at the end, I think. A 2+ with the reroll with my other thrower. And I just failed it. So it was eventful. But it ended up just good enough to get me into playoffs, so I was cool with it. But anyway, I've been rambling a lot about my game, but there was really just a ton that happened. Like Ivan said, there was a lot between the score sheet that doesn't show. This game was wild.
Yeah, well, you skipped from 7 to 16.
Right. All right. The Los Alamos, or Liz with Attitude, sorry, defeat the Amazonian Snoo Snoo. This was a scheduling issue that ended up in a concession, so not really much to talk about there. Liz with Attitude are rolling 7-1 as they look to clinch that number 1 spot still next week. All right.
Cody, I'm going to need some elaboration. Damn, that's a lot of squished frogs.
Yeah.
This is like a lab in 9th grade. What happened?
It pretty much, I mean, it's pretty much how the sheet shows. It just kind of just started rolling. I believe I picked offense first, I believe. So I kicked to him, or he was defending, I believe, or something like that. I'm trying to remember who started who. It doesn't, regardless of who started when. Basically, just kind of smashed our lines into each other. He, of course, was only really trying to maintain any form of like aggression with his big guy and his blitzers, and even then, it was sparingly because he was just like, I can't afford to just completely line up to you. And he was shifting around. I mean, he had a few wildly unlucky pickups, I believe, with his catchers, and he was missing one of his star runners.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a hit for the game. Dart did have his first successful pass. I believe he wrote that on his sheet. It's not on here. His new hired catcher that had not succeeded a single pass finally got a pass, so he was happy. Or was a successful dodge out or something. He just was not having a good time this entire time, but
Gotcha.
he managed to do some things. And then it just kind of kept rolling the same way of, just rolling into the Kazes, spaced out through these Kazes were probably another like 3 or 4 KOs. By about the start of the second half, he had, I believe it was 2 or 3 players on the pitch. And then by the halfway through the second half, he was down to, I think, 2 players, if I'm not mistaken. Or at one point, he was down to, during a drive, was down to 1 or 2 players. And then a few KO players came back for the next drive. So he was always chilling at about half the game. He only had about 3 players on the pitch.
Jeez.
Yeah. So, he was doing wild stuff, constantly harassing the ball carrier. He was rolling. By this point, he did not give up at all and was just throwing constant 2-die ups. And several of them, like 2 2-die ups in a row on my ball carrier, were a defender stumble into a double defender stumble on both of them. And I was just like, well then.
Well, that'll work.
Yeah. And so, I mean, he was pulling some wild plays to try to make the game salvageable and try to stop me from, kind of just scoring immediately. But
I mean, right. I mean, after a 9 casualty game, you just you're grasping at straws. I mean, I can sympathize as being one who just came off of the receiving end of a 10 casualty game in a tournament. So it's not fun. And you just kind of do what you can. You throw those uphill dice and just pray, I guess. But yeah.
Sometimes you just do what you can.
Yep. Yeah, I mean,
Overall, yeah.
because I mean, like turn 6, like by turn 6, it's insane.
Yeah.
Like 6 casualties by turn 6, basically.
Yeah.
2 in that
Appos.
same turn.
Yeah,
One's the
one
big
being
guy. Of course, he appos, but then you get him
Appos,
later
yeah.
by the end of the half. It's with a
Yeah.
foul. That's just insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh boy. Well, I'm sure whoever matches up against you week 10, the first week of playoffs, is probably not going to be a happy camper. All right, and then our match, the Polypore Pipers against the Dragons. I don't know fully what happened, but I did hear a brief rundown. Is that she was the Piper's coach was consistently getting her ass beat. That's what I was told. Yeah, it sounds like some casualties came in kind of early, maybe some knockouts. Losing Cuervo by turn 5 was really rough. Cuervo is the fox that has sprint, so really crucial piece to the offense. So and then after that, the touchdowns started raining. Just 5, 8, 10, 12, 15. Yeah, so just a really one-sided game.
In very quick succession.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, not much you can do there, but hey, I mean, that's a statement game from the Dragons. They are saying, hey, we're here to start playing hard. They've been a little up and down throughout the season, but this one shows that like we're in playoffs now, and we're just getting ready to break the back of whoever matches against us.
Now beginning to pop off.
Yep.
He said so.
Yep. Also, maybe it's a little bit of motivation for the Pipers too. After the disrespect here, got a chip on her shoulder. So, all right. With another week of matches, we get another set of stats. Our most experienced players, Alcadike is still at the top with a massive jump up to 40. I believe she was at like 32 last week. So she's
large SPP game.
Yeah, she's starting to pull away with it. I believe has more SPP on herself than some other teams, but
combined, yes.
can't confirm, but I think that may possibly be true. Right behind them, Rebecca Cold from the Butchers Bay Dragons, and then in the bronze spot, Thera from the Dark Iron and Titsa from the Grung. So good list of top fellas there. In terms of scoring, you see how Alcadike got to her top spot. She's now at 8 touchdowns, tying Titsa with 8. Just behind them, Thera and Sagarius are at 7. And then in the bronze spot, Taguchi Main, 2 Croc from the Liz with Attitude, and Timothy are all at 6. I didn't think I was going to have to ever update this, but yet here we are. Forrest Stump. Forrest Stump has gotten an interception, and I literally don't have room for one more, so I don't know.
Hope no one else gets one.
I don't know what's going to happen. I'll make space, but I don't know what I'm going to do.
Nobody else, unless it's these players.
Yeah.
Another one. No more.
We need a 2 interception player at this point.
Somebody's got to get on that.
Someone's got to get a second one, but we'll see. All right. In terms of passes, Jolth Mammoth takes the lead in his match against Gnarled Barkley, the previous leader. Barkley got injured early, didn't get a chance to complete any passes, and Mammoth put one in, so now he's at the top spot. Right behind him is Barkley, and then right behind him is Keenbender from the Undheim Mighty Rats at 6. The catches, the other side of that passing stat, Forrest Stump still maintains a healthy lead. Unfortunately, an interception doesn't count as a catch, but he did also get that, so he's technically caught the ball 7 times. Just one of them.
Wasn't to him,
Just one wasn't intended for him, but
that's how good at catching he is. He catches balls that weren't even meant for him.
He's like a willow tree, man. He's just snagging balls from every angle. But anyway, right behind him, Dork Shadowwood from the Dragonaires, and then in the bronze spot, a whole host of fellas: Degulus, Titsa, Warpheus, and Corpit Crowcrest, all at 3. In terms of casualties, the leading killer is Chizekiel Izumata from the Dark Iron. He's at 8. Just behind him is Craven Slayer, the Rat Ogre for the Mighty Rats, and then Hopper from the Chosen Grung, and then Owen from the Dark Iron. In the bronze spot, 3 Dark Iron players. Not surprising considering they're averaging, I think, 6 to 7 casualties a game at this point. Bomber, Nori, and Dory all in the bronze spot. In terms of kills, Cranton is still the leading killer, followed by Bomber, Hopper, Leon, Terrace, Nori, Bogart, Rafe Nor, Dory, and Sonya the Dancer. There are a few others that have 1 kill, but I don't have the note currently on who else has 1 kill. So, in terms of fouls, we still have a 5-way tie for the first place spot. Aloplex, even though she has been fired, she's still up there in the top. So her number won't increase, but maybe somebody else will take the gold spot. Behind her
is committed.
Baxter's committed. Oh yeah, Baxter came up. He only had 1 last week, and he got a second. So he is in the gold spot right now, along with Taguchi Main, Vicky Valancourt, and Farmer Fran. Behind them in silver, Raluca Ruiz, Tuxorus Doris, Jolth Mammoth, Carleon Camros, and Sail Switchfinger. So a lot of people in there. All right. So today we have a shorter obituary section, but still important, still impactful. We honor today our one and only lost Blood Bowl player. She was with us for only 12 turns of the season after just recently being hired. But she's still a part of our league and an honored member. We recognize Dortmunder, the Dark Elf Witch Elf from the Gloomstalker Dragonaires, and wish her and her family rest and help, help throughout this hard time.
May she have a deep sleep in the long dark.
Yes.
12 turns not forgotten. Forever in our hearts.
Yes. But all right. Now let's move on after that moment of silence to our division matchups. So, so some things have changed. Coming off of another week of matches, the Dark Iron still leading in the top spot. They've clinched the first seed. They're really kind of just waiting for the playoff spot. Dragons in a similar boat. Their position can change from here to here, but they are currently clinched. Just behind them, we have the Chosen Grung and the Mayhem, both at 7, but Grung winning on the tiebreaker. So they're in our current 3rd and 4th place position. In the hunt, we just have one team. The New England Matriarchs are looking to usurp one of these 2 teams. And then eliminated from playoffs are the Mudclaws and the Snoo. So, with only 1 week of matches left, we have a clearer playoff picture. So let me pull it up. Thanks to our commissioner for pulling this all together, because I don't have the mental capacity to do this. Anyway, so right now, the Grung are at 7 points. They do not have any more divisional matches, so they are stuck at 7 points. What happens to them is largely dependent on the 2 teams below them. So we'll go to the Matriarchs. Ivan, your match is against the Butcher's Bay Dragons, correct?
It is.
All right. So if you win, you will be the 2 seed with 10 points, but you will have the tiebreaker over the Dragons. Very nice. If you draw, you make playoffs with 8 points. You'll be in the 3rd place spot if the Matriarchs lose, and you'll be in the 4th spot if the Matriarchs win. And if you lose, you would advance technically, but only if the Matriarchs lose in their match against the Snoo. So if you win or tie, you've got this, basically. If you lose, it's out of your hands, and it's up to the Matriarchs to blunder to keep you in the race.
I pray on everyone's downfall except for me.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. And on the flip side, the matriarchs, if they win, they will end up in third, as long as the Manhattan Mutant Mayhem lose, or draw, and then regardless, if they win, they're in, with 9 points. If they draw, they will lose the tiebreak, if the Manhattan Mutant Mayhem lose. So if they draw, Ivan, you beat Waters week 4. I don't remember the week. That's too far back. But anyway, you beat him 1 week, so you would win the tiebreaker there if he ends up drawing. And then you would advance over the Grung if he would advance over the Grung if you happen to win. So if you would win, you would hop up here. There would be a tiebreak between these two, and then he had beaten the Grung, so he would be fourth there. So it's very interesting because you guys at one point had that 3-way tie where you've all cycled and beat each other. So all right, and then the Dragons, just a note, like if they win, they're locked in at the second seed. If they draw, they're locked in at the second seed. But if they lose, then they are going to be the third seed. So interesting stuff for the Blood division, starting to take shape, but it's still 3, 4, and 5 are basically all trying to squeeze into that 3 and 4 spot. So really exciting stuff. And this week is going to have a massive impact on, well, actually, it'll be totality, all of the impact on what happens by the end of this. Yeah,
it all comes down to this.
It really does. That's what happens when it's, the last week of the regular season. But anyway, on the other side, the Bowl division, we had some changes. The list is
very much more well defined than the Blood division.
You would think, but our number 1 seed is not locked in yet.
To go on.
Yeah, so the list with attitude are at 12 points. They have clinched playoffs, but their seeding could range a number of places. They could be, I think, as poor as the second seed, but they still don't have that first seed clinched. The Black Forest Guardians did, however, clinch playoffs this last week off of a draw, but their spot could end up, I think, anywhere between 2 and 4. The Polypore Pipers clinched last week at 9. And they have a chance to do something crazy in their match against the Liz with Attitude this week. And then in the hunt here, we've got the Mighty Rats currently in the number 4 spot, but their fate is in the hands of the Aliens just behind them as they go to play the Gloomstalker Dragonaires this week. The Dragonaires were eliminated last week, as well as the Skulkers, due to the not being able to get enough points to get into the top 4. So let's talk about the playoff situation here. So Liz with Attitudes play the Polypore Pipers. Polypore can end up in any of the top 4 spots. This is what's weird about it. If the Polypore Pipers win, they will be at 12. They will be tied with the Liz with Attitude. Therefore, because they beat them in the head-to-head, they will be the number 1 seed. However, if they draw, they will be the number 2 seed because they have beaten the Black Forest Guardians and they will win that tiebreaker there. And if the Aliens somehow win, they still have the tiebreaker over that team as well, so they will be locked in at the number 2 seed. However, if they lose, they will be a 3rd seed where they currently are, as long as the Los Alamos Aliens lose or draw. Or if the Los Alamos Aliens win, they will be the number 4 seed. So they can literally go anywhere right now. This week is insane. Best thing they can do for themselves is win the division. Insane, right? On the flip side of that matchup, the Liz with Attitude will get the number 1 seed if they win or draw. But if they lose, they do drop to the number 2 seed. And then the Los Alamos Aliens, they're on the outside looking in, but they are in control of their destiny here. If they win, they do advance with 10 points. They'll be the 3rd seed if Polypore loses, and they'll be the 4th seed if Polypore wins or draws. However, if they draw, they are eliminated because Underheim wins the tiebreaker after beating them last week. And then if they lose, they are eliminated. So looking for a win here if they want to get in. Mighty Rats are at the whim of whatever happens between these two matchups. And same with Black Forest Guardians. We're in. We just don't know where until everything else shakes out. So fun stuff.
Gotta love Blood Bowl.
You'll love it. You'll love to see it.
Yeah, and literally the fact that this number 1 seed isn't even locked in and it's week 9 is crazy to me. But it is a 2-man race and they play each other. So
Can't wait to see it.
yep. All right, let's talk about power rankings. So,
Wow, some big shifts over here.
there were a lot of big shifts. The analysts, they heard my comment about them being lazy last week, so they decided to crunch their numbers into overdrive. So generally, we've got a new number 2 spot, basically. The Matriarchs jump in everybody's eyes. The Dragons are finally getting some respect on their name and jumping as well. The Liz with Attitude, despite winning, drop, but I think it's less to do with Liz with Attitude's performance and more to do with the other two above them. Guardians jump up, but mostly stay the same. The Los Alamos Aliens jump up despite having a loss. Aggie understands that they lost, so they should go down. You know, everyone's got different philosophies here on the analyst desk. The Mudclaws drop after their tie. However, the Mayhem jump after their tie.
Put some respect on the stewards.
Yeah, as somebody who's currently in the playoff picture, I think this is more deserved versus a team who is technically out.
Still mad at Winkins. But...
yeah, he's doing his best. The Grung, you know, when you eat 9 casualties, I guess the opinion of your team shifts pretty drastically as they drop.
Seems a bit harsh if you ask me.
It's a bit harsh on after a 1 match outcome, but you know, such is the way they see things.
But the Grung are below the Mayhem, which I believe is objectively correct.
Hey, we'll see. There might be a matchup here soon.
Oh God, I hope.
The Dragonaires stay dead even across the board. No changes there. The Snoo go up. And transparency, this is just because when a forfeit happens, it records the casualties as 0-0. So it sounds like they went even on casualties, even though that's not truly like the case because it didn't get played. So that's the reason for the jump. The Mighty Rats stay exactly the same. And then the Skulkers drop. And I think probably the strangest thing the analysts have agreed on is the Pipers dropping. They've had clinched playoffs for 2 weeks now. Yet
clinched and possibly be first seed.
They could be the number 1 seed, and yet the analysts say that they are
I think
dead
the analysts
last.
are being bribed by don't know.
We can't.
Someone who hates gnomes.
Yeah, we can't confirm that there is a hate group out there against gnomes, but investigations are being done. But hey, that's bulletin board material. You want to go into playoffs hot? Show these motherfuckers that you are not the last seed. All right. But anyway, we'll go through really quickly on some changes. Polypore Pipers, no changes on the stat sheet. However, they are going to be out Cuervo and Tullamore this coming week. The Vermin Skulkers add a little bit more to their team. Stretch Sneak Claw gets sidestep, becoming a really dangerous gutter runner, and Longshank Steeltail gets block. So a couple of really great gutter runners starting to develop over there at the Vermin Skulkers camp. Moore's Magby will be out this week, so they'll have to have another kicker, but I think they have got a bright future ahead. The Underheim Mighty Rats, going into their friendly match, has picked up Accurate on Sludge Keenbender. He is dedicated to becoming the best thrower in the NKBBL, or so we're told. With the Cannoneer Accurate combination, he will be a force. No changes on the Snoo. They still sit at 890 TV. The Gloomstalker Dragonaires are going to be short Daedalus this next week, and also their Witch Elf, who has recently been passed. However, Burlacker gets diving catch, so he's starting to get a few interesting skills that can help them pull off possibly an upset this week against the aliens. All right, Ubtal's chosen Grung. They are feeling pretty sickly after their match with the Dark Iron. They approach next week missing a blitzer and 2 linemen. However, they have decided to rally and go to the local pond to pick up some new blitzers, and they have.
These tadpoles have been training for ages. They're ready.
They are ready. So we bring on Froker the second and BT Weber, both blitzers ready to go in their final friendly match before a possible playoff appearance. All right, not much to talk about in terms of the Manhattan Mutant Mayhem. However, Leatherhead has sharpened his claws. So that's really exciting stuff and something to look forward to as this team looks to take on the Dragons and secure their playoff spot. Oh, and also an Apothecary. They have gained an Apothecary.
And we did fire Alloplex.
Alloplex has been fired. Leatherhead's got claws, yes. And the medical staff has gotten a bit of an upgrade, so good to see. All right, the SCLSU Mudclaws. They are going to be short Valentine Valancourt, who is missed next game. However, Greg Meany adds to the whole host of sources that do now have block. So this team's starting to get rolling. The Los Alamos Aliens take a bunch of skills as they look to keep their playoffs hopes alive. Chuck Geiger Jr. gets Cannoneer. NASCAR Jawblitzer gets Tentacles. Don't know how he grew those, but we don't ask here at the NKBBL what happens in the Chaos Camps. Warpheus gains Diving Tackle. Diablo Zod got Break Tackle. And then they have added a Stunty to their roster. Mince Lombardi, the Goblin, has joined the squad, and he's, from what I hear, ready to be thrown. All right, Black Forest Guardians, not much of an update. Bark Scar has gotten a pair of random skills that makes him the best thrower in the world. He now has Hail Mary Pass and Fumble Rooski on 2 randoms.
Unstoppable.
Yep, so be looking forward in the match against the Grung, seeing him run with the ball, drop the ball, or possibly throw the ball really far. I don't know at this point. I guess the benefit is, yeah, I guess the benefit is at this point is if he freaking gets the ball, he can just, and I'm in my backfield and I don't have anything to do with it. Well, I guess I can just huck it down to the opposite end zone and see what happens. All right, the Lizards with Attitude. Not much to talk about as this team is just kind of getting ready for playoffs here. But G Diddy did get himself guard. So looking to help out his other sources on the pitch. The Butcher's Bay Dragons. Not last week, but the week before, coming off of a lot of pretty brutal injuries. They look like they're starting to rebuild their team as they bring on Candlekeeper Tim, the runner, and Reginald Rockington, their 4th blitzer, replacing some players they lost a few weeks ago. John Casey also gets block, so he becomes a pseudo blitzer of his own. And Rebecca Cold, one of the star witch elves on the Dragons, gets sidestep. And the Matriarchs, no news on updates with this squad. Looks like they're just ready to put it all on the line and see if they make playoffs this week. And similarly with the Dark Iron, most of these players are pretty fully geared up, ready to go. So they're just in a holding pattern until they get enough SPP for some other things, or need necessitates it. So, and they are also 7-1. I forgot to update that, but hey, here we are. Little short notice today. Okay, So that's enough yapping from me. Now let's get into the fun part where we talk about what matches are going to happen as this comes out on YouTube today, and how the season's going to end. So to close out the season 4 of the NKBBL's regular season, the Chosen Grung are going to take on the Black Forest Guardians. The New England Matriarchs are going to take on the Snoo Snoo. Liz with Attitude fight for that number 1 spot against the Polypore Pipers. The Gloomstalker Dragonaires look to play upset against the Los Alamos Aliens. The Vermin Skulkers have a friendly bout with the Khazad-dûn Dark Iron. The SCLSU Mudclaws take on the Mighty Rats in a friendly bout. And what you will see later today on Twitch, the Butcher's Bay Dragons taking on the Manhattan Mutant Mayhem as the Dragons look to solidify their number 2 seed and the Mayhem try to stay alive in playoffs. Okay. Our first match, the Grung versus the Guardians. The line is favoring the Chosen Grung. However, the analysts are a little split. Aggie says it's going to be the Grungs. However, Lucy and Boomer say it's the Guardians. What do you guys think?
I'd say these trees are going to have a really hard time squashing the frogs. These frogs are fast, and they have very long legs, which, as we know, is the ultimate key to victory.
Yep.
So I will be handing this to the Grung. I think it's going to be a 2-1 game.
Okay. I appreciate you giving me that touchdown.
Yeah, I think you may have it in you.
Okay,
I just
okay.
didn't want to hurt your feelings that bad.
No, that's all right. Hey, you ain't going to hurt my feelings.
This is going to be a really good match. I think this is like the second match I was voting for, because you just have two teams that are being ran by two coaches that are very comfortable, like throwing the ball around and shifting up and around the field. Two different teams in a way of doing it, as slow and heavy elf team with exceptional ball handling versus a quicker and squishier frog team that just doesn't quite have as reliable as ball handling, but is just so annoying to try to hold down and deal with, like holding them in place and trying to stop them from scoring. I'm seeing we do got two tackle pieces on the Guardians, so that's definitely going to be coming very handy with trying to catch and stomp out those catchers that the Ubtao love so much. I don't think this is going to be a tie, or at the very least, I don't think either of these coaches will be happy with and are not going to accept a tie. They are
Fair.
going to try to play as hard as they can to win. I think I'm gonna have to go with the Guardians on this one. It's not. I don't think either coach is gonna blow each other out, but I think with a combination of missing a few linemen off the Grunk and the new exceptional skills of the Black Forest Guardians star thrower, we can really see some chaos happen. And
Yep.
we have a little TV disparity. We got a little bit of cash. We could do some fun things.
But, yeah, 120. It's doable.
Yeah,
There might be something worth taking.
Nothing crazy, but there's fun options.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, like, this is a friendly, so I approach these differently. Friendlies are it will not impact my seating. That's out of my hands. The only thing it looks to impact is how healthy I am next game, and how healthy he is the next game, and how much SPP I earn. So those are the considerations in my head.
And just general self-esteem.
Yeah, just general self-esteem. Yeah, we want to build a little momentum for sure. We want to try anyway. But no, I'm looking forward to it. Like, the Slan are always very interesting. I've always really enjoyed every match I've had against the Slan. The Nabu Bombads come to mind. They're always interesting in how slippery they are and just the play style. It makes you have to think kind of on a different level, because there's plays that are available to them that just aren't available to other teams, just in general.
Billy Hoppin', baby.
Exactly. You don't know what to do against the silly hoppers until you encounter the silly hoppers. So it's always a fun exercise. Yeah, and I mean, like, we got a stupid Hail Mary pass from Borusky thrower, so, like, I think we're just going to try it. I'm going to see. I'm going to say, people say these are the worst skills. I'm going to find a way to make them useful. And I'll get back to you on 2 weeks about how that went out for me. But
I need clip this audio so we can play it and compare to how you feel about it next time.
Yep, 45-19. I'll clip it. I need to be clipping things anyway because I realized when I made the Wartscenter commercial, I had to manually go through and find bits that I liked for the show.
Which, again, listening to us talk twice, utter misery.
He's like,
Yeah, I don't. Why are you all here? Leave. Turn this off. Unsubscribe.
We're gonna see how great these skills are next week. We're gonna come into, and Bark Scar is dead.
he has been fired. Yeah,
he broke his own neck throwing a ball.
Yeah, yeah. We'll see. I'm excited about it, but yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. It's really gonna come down to, will the speed win out or will the long game win out? And that's really the name of this game.
Mm-hmm.
If the attrition wins, then I like my chances. However, if the Fast and Furious frogs go on a scoring frenzy, then it ain't gonna look too hot for the Guardians. But there's a bigger prize at the end of this. There's also an interesting thing that could happen where these two teams play each other back to back.
Yeah, it is possible.
Because I think the Guardians are currently at 2. The Grung can end up at 3, and then we would just run it back. So, yeah. So, I think vice versa can happen too. We can end up at 3. Grung can hop to 2, or I don't know. But there's a way that we play each other first round in playoffs too. So that's interesting. All right, the New England Matriarchs take on the Amazonian Snoo Snoos. The favorite in this match is the New England Matriarchs at a touchdown and a half, and the analysts are unified in saying that it's the Matriarchs. What are your all's feelings?
I think it's going to be Matriarchs 2-0.
Okay.
I think this is just an interesting aspect of, we got mirror teams, one with significantly more development and just general players as of right now, because the Amazons are still running fewer positional pieces, literally none, but only 3 positional pieces and a bunch of journeymen still. But that TV difference, that's a 300k TV difference. That is definitely a substantial. That is a game shifting amount of money, right? I think, and the Snoo coach has shown that they are capable of have no fear of spending petty cash and running a crazy strategy with it and making it work.
Yep.
I'm still probably going to give it to the Matriarchs. Could it be a 2-0 potentially? I don't. 300k is just a lot. So, man, that's a lot of options. I'm going to go Matriarchs, maybe a 2-1 or maybe even a 3-1.
Okay.
I think the Snoo might be able to squeeze out a score at least once. In some form, just by sheer happens chance or just pulling off some crazy ass bullshit, I think should be able to get one score in. I think.
Yeah, with that many inducements, surely one squeaker is possible.
Yeah, I mean you have the main aspect of this is you have 2 Amazon coaches. It's a bunch of dodge going against a bunch of dodge. They're both going to be struggling to knock each other down with their own players. You have more block on the Matriarch side, but there's no dodge on or no tackle on anybody's team.
Right.
Oh wait, no, there's one tackle piece. My apologies.
Yep.
One of his blitzers has tackle, so you have a singular tackle piece. Great, absolutely fantastic. Still, one tackle is not gonna be able. one player can't take down a whole line of dodge linemen.
Yeah, and I think if I'm looking at that right, I think it's actually diving tackle, so it's not tackle.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's not tackle. My apologies. So,
So you are
yeah,
correct. There's no tackle here.
There is tackle. So it's going to be the block pieces are going to be crucial, but we're looking at what, 1, 2, 3, 4 block pieces. Great, but it's just both teams are going to be looking for a whole lot of pals. It's in order to actually beat up on each other. So
Yep. So I mean, this obviously has huge playoff implications. The Matriarchs win and they're in. So really, really pushing. Hopefully this game does get played, as it has a pretty big impact on the league. I will say I did forget. Brando did also send me match card insights that he wanted to share had he been able to be here with us. So I'm gonna read those for the matchups we've had so far, and remember to actually let his word come out when the matches show up. But we'll start with this match. Matriarchs versus the Snoo Snoo. Brando says Matriarchs by 2 or possibly even 3, just because it's an absolute must-win for the Matriarchs. And the team is currently firing on all cylinders, ready to go. So he's saying 3-0 Matriarchs. Very good. As far as the Chosen Grung and the Black Forest Guardians, he said that that's a really tight match. Titsa and Timothy are together, back again, which is nice. And both catchers for the Guardians are also together. So it could go either way. But he's kind of where I am with the war of attrition, where it could swing towards the Guardians in that attrition war. And he expects the Grung to play somewhat safe in case they make it to playoffs. But he's saying 2-1 Guardians. Let's see, what other match have we done? I'm just gonna go back and look.
You can press back.
Just those two. Well, I just didn't want to mess up the flow. Okay, all right. Shit's getting wild here today. for context, like this presentation got put up like this. Like I got it together this morning. So
Cody is recording on the side of the road. I'm currently on a roof.
Yeah.
Trying to get a signal so we can get this going.
Yeah.
We are
Yeah.
struggling.
Things always get
Coach Laws is in the trenches. Coach Brando, we don't know if he's ever going to speak again. Just a lot of stuff is happening.
Yeah, things go really crazy towards the end of a Blood Bowl season here in the Northern Kingdoms. Like every time there's like natural disasters and just weird, odd things. Like I don't know, we can't explain it, but it is what it is. Anyway, let's move on to the next match: the Lizards with Attitude versus the Polypore Pipers. What a match! This is the fight for the #1 seed and the very last week of the regular season. The line is set to the Lizards with Attitude at 1.67. However, the Lizzas are favored by Aggie and Lucy, but Boomer says it's going to be the Pipers. What do you guys think about this one?
This might, dare I say, might end up being the most interesting match that gets played. Just because got a bunch of little guys, bunch of lizards. The lizards are fast, but I think just maybe the Polypore Piper, if they use all their skills and be as slippery little guys as they can be, might be able to squeak out a touchdown. But I think LWA is going to win 2-1.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't think it's as cut and dry as that. I think the LWA definitely have the potential to do something like that, to do a 2-1, maybe even like a 3-1 if a lot of things go their way. But the Pipers, man, that gnome team are just some of the
little guys that could.
The quirkiest little team to go against.
Yep.
We got over 400K of petty cash. That's big money.
That is an insane amount of petty
cash.
That is you're buying anything you want.
Yes, and let me double check because I don't know if they're fully up to 1410. Maybe I know it is at least 300 something. Or maybe you're right. It is 400K. I just want to confirm. I don't know why that number didn't seem right, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's 1410. Yeah, you're right. 400K. Continue.
It's that high. Yes.
Continue. Yeah.
Actually, it is in fact 420K.
Yep. Woo.
Nice. nice.
Yeah.
That's a pretty high number.
Yep.
I could get high with that number, you know.
That's
Oh.
yeah, that's a good package for sure.
But I'm just seeing like the Lizards, of course, like solid coach. They've done exceptionally well this season. I'm very proud of them. Good team development. We're starting to get more development on the Croxagore. But the crucial thing with the source is the block, and you have an entire team that is nothing but soft counter to block.
Yep, it's true.
So I think that's going to be that is something that the Lizard coach I don't think has ever really dealt with, as somebody that doesn't care if they go down because they're going to bring you down with them.
Right.
And I think if that could be a very big thing for the Polypore Piper coach.
Mm-hmm.
I see she's down one of her foxes, which I'm sure she's not happy about, but
Yep.
she's still got a fox that's a sidestep. Yeah. I mean, he's got his skinks can keep up with it, but it's just a slippery little bugger. And
Yep.
you got a whole lot of options, and that's just from the team itself. I don't know. I think this team is either going to be a crazy like blowout game, similar to what we saw the Pipers have against their last opponent, where it's just like a one-sided beatdown. It's just unfortunate. And I can see that going for the Lizards, like happening against them, and like them doing very, very well against the Pipers. But I'm thinking more of like maybe like a 2-2 tie, or potentially like a 3-2. Like I'm seeing both these coaches are going to be running that ball up and down the field as fast as they can to try to score, and taking swings where they can, but they both are just very. I think I would. Dang, I keep forgetting the 420K.
Yes, there is money, so there's a whole host of things coming the Liz's way.
Yeah, you have so many options, and you could so many singular or multiple different, so many things, many things.
Yep.
So until I see it game day, I'm gonna go with the Lizards by 1.
Okay.
Until it's like, if depending on what the Polypore Pipers take, they could be like, I could see that swinging the other way quite easily. But
okay. Brando wants everyone to know that I feel like I'm reading like his like will.
It's like last will and testament. Just to clarify, Brando is not
he wants everyone to know that he expects a better showing from the Pipers than last week. And he imagines the 400K inducement package will help. The Lizards need the win to get the easiest path to the championship, along with a chance for the Coil Cup. So he's saying 2-1 with the Lizards with attitude. Now, me, on the other hand, I think it's going to be Pipers here. I think the inducement package is good. I think there's a lot of things that they can throw at the Lizards, and I think there's a lot of things that the Gnomes can do that can make it really tough for a Lizardman team. Like you said, it's a whole team full of wrestle. A lot of Lizardmen development, just in general, is building up block on sources, and that's typically a very good strategy. But when that skill is countered by literally everything on the opposing team, it's not so much fun. And like, yeah, I mean, there's wrestle everywhere, more wrestle than there is block on the other side. Which can be huge. Jump up allows for a pseudo like movement advantage in a way, and she'll be fighting skinks punch for punch. It'll be strength 2 on strength 2. So there's no negative to try to fight those, as opposed to recently when she went against the Dragons. They're all strength 3. You're trying to punch uphill constantly. There are some definite players that she can just rack up and say, "Hey, we're fighting," which she is wont to do. So,
want to do, yes.
I think missing Cuervo probably puts the Pipers at a bit of a disadvantage. But I think they could still pull it off. If not, like you said, an interesting like 1-1 tie or something. But I'm not gonna I'm not going to bet against my wife. So,
His wife.
His wife.
yep.
Whoa,
All right.
whoa.
All right. The Gloomstalker Dragonaires take on the Los Alamos Aliens. The line is set to favor the aliens by nearly a touchdown, 0.84, and the analysts are firm in the belief that the aliens are going to do enough this week to make it into playoffs. What do you guys think about this one?
I gotta hand it to our analysts. Sometimes they get it right. No shade on the Dragonaires, but these aliens, they've come from space to do one thing: secure a playoff spot.
Yeah.
And I think they are going to do that. I am going to give it, I think it's going to be a 2-0, and I think there will be casualties.
Okay.
Now, Buckner, if you're listening and you heard me trash talking you, use that as fuel.
Sounds like it sounds like a little collusion.
It's like, good. Now that Brando's not listening,
Yeah.
this is what you need to do.
Right. Now that Brando's gone, all right, Buckner, here's what you got to do.
No. I think, yeah, it's like we're starting to see like even more heavy development from a redrafted Renegade team. We're getting more developed and like more solid players across his team. Great amount of development. So much block from the Dragonaires. They're a very like offensively capable for sure. Like Dark Elf team, like if they are we've seen the two Dark Elf teams. I think it's kind of by this late point in the season, we can kind of see the two different strategies that the coaches have taken. We have the Dragonaires have taken a much more like offense when needed and more making blocks to get better position and score, versus the Dragonaires Dark Elf strategy of just straight up, I want to brawl with you, hopefully establish a numbers advantage on you, and then being able to just easily just shift around the few remaining players you have left, which has worked in a decent amount of his games. I mean, but I'm looking at even TV difference, what, 225?
Yep.
Yeah, 225. That's a good chunk of change, but it's nothing crazy. Can definitely do some fun things with that. But I don't know. It's like the Los Alamos Aliens are just one of the most solid teams in the entire league by this point, and led by one of the most solid coaches. I'm gonna give it to the Aliens. I'm not gonna give it to them a 2-0 as long as nothing too catastrophically bad happens to the Dragonaires. I think they should be able to score at least once on their offensive drive, I would assume. So I'm gonna probably go a 2-1 for the Aliens.
Okay. Yeah. Brando's betting on himself. That's what he has here.
You gotta.
He says if he has another hot opening like last week, he doesn't plan on letting it slip. Elves are fast and he expects some shenanigans, but at the end, a 2-1 for the Aliens. And oh boy, I almost see this going 2-2 in my head. And there's a very specific reason why. And it's from personal experience, having played both of these coaches. There was an instance in each one of these games where both of these coaches told me they wish they had scored sooner. Had Brando scored sooner, then we probably would have. Or maybe if he scored a little later, I don't forget. We'll go Buckner's because that one's more recent. Buckner said, "Hey, he scored sooner. He probably would have won. Just legitimately, probably would have won." So I see him not taking that chance this week and trying to put it in where necessary. However, with the Los Alamos Aliens, I believe it was the reverse, where he wished he had held out just a little bit longer, which allowed me to get a score on his half that ended up in the 2-1 there. So I could see in that case, I changed my mind now because I realized they both weren't the same scenario. But because of that, I honestly see the Aliens pulling out 2-1. because whereas Brando's been burnt by not stalling enough, it seems that the Dragonairs got burnt by stalling a little too much. So if they flip those behaviors, then we end up possibly 2 scores for the aliens and then 1 for the Dragonairs. But that's just from my personal experience, having played both those coaches.
Yeah, and you saying that just kind of makes you think of the point that it's them both coming from 2 separate sides of having the conversation of when do you stall, how do you stall, and what the general stall tactic of Blood Bowl.
Yep.
No matter how you look at it, it is a fundamental aspect of the game. Whether
Sure is.
you like it, love it, or anything like that, it is a fundamental thing that you have to do sometimes.
Mhm.
And sometimes it is a fundamental part of a team you play. And now,
What are you talking about?
I have no idea what you're talking about. Sometimes some people call it stalling, other people call it having 4 movement. I don't know. They're just like
Fair enough.
But there is, while some people may be frustrated at the very act of stalling, which can be understandably frustrating, it is still a skill that is necessary to play the game well, is to not only be able to stall successfully, but to know when to and for how long. Because you have to play that balance of like, if I can last 1 more turn, do I think I'm like, if you're going against a team that is doing heavy damage to your team, do you risk potentially losing more of your team on a turn for them to hurt your team more versus scoring and giving them that 1 more turn to score? And you have to kind of weigh that option.
Yep. It's always a good question to ask. And I mean, like, it is what it is, but I think it does parallel well to like the actual NFL, because like there is definitely something to be said in the NFL. It happens all the time. You score too quick and your opponent gets time to go and win the game, you know? In that aspect, it's no different. It's just on a board game, it feels a little different. But, you know, if it's, you know, even if it's on, you know, this mystical thing called the NFL that we know nothing about because it's not in our universe. But and I'm not talking about the Nuffle miracle source.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, why were you spelling it out so weird?
I don't know, man. Anyway, I don't know where we went, but let's get back to this. Okay. So the Vermin Skulkers take on the Khazad-dûn Dark Iron. The line's set to the Dark Iron at our highest differential of the week at a little over 2 touchdowns, and the analysts are firm in their belief that the Dark Iron are going to get it done. Thoughts?
I think the Dark Iron are going to take this 3-0. Sorry, Chadwell. Love you. Love the rats.
Yep.
These dwarves, they might as well be just giant rat traps. Each and every rat is going to get crushed by their short, stubby legs on a dwarf. Not everyone all at once now.
There's not a whole lot of us in here.
Speaking about myself, so you know.
Don't be humble. Come on.
I mean, no. I think I'm going to win. I am going to try to win. I have confidence in my ability to win. I could see it definitely being like a 3-0 is wild. I'm not gonna lie. Just by sheer speed, it is difficult for me to even do a 2-0. But depending on how it goes, a 2-0 or maybe even like a 2-1, I could see Chadwell sneaking in a little score on me. That's very realistic.
Rats are sneaky. Rats are sneaky.
I mean, I'm going to kill half his team while he's doing that, but you know, that's kind of the.
You'll be blinded because there's so much rat blood in your eyes that one's going to sneak away with the ball.
Something along those lines, yeah. Yep. And I think he's well aware that's probably what's going to be happening as well. But you know, Chadwell has, since the start of the season and all through the games he's played, he has always had a good attitude about it. He seems to really be enjoying the game and enjoying the league in general, and it's very pleasurable to be around him. And I'm happy that he's in the league. I hope he sticks around and joins us for many more seasons.
He's my personal favorite player.
Outside of yourself.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't like myself all that much.
Yeah, that's fair. It's like, but yeah, I think
That's fair. We don't either.
Just
it's a fair judge. It's
no
one
contest.
a harsh but fair self judgment.
Harsh but fair. Okay.
Okay.
But I think, yeah, I think it's going to be probably a scoring, not exceptionally high scoring, but a probably high Kaz in my favor match. And it's just, honestly, I'm thinking it's just going to be fun because he seems to be a fun coach. No matter whether he's winning or losing, he's having a fun time, and that's the best type of coach to play against. It's like those are my favorite matches. Whether if I playing against a coach that is just having fun, regardless of the situation that's happening, I don't even care if I'm losing. I just want to have fun.
Yeah. All right. From the Brando box, it says Khazad-dûm get one of the quote unquote easier matches before they enter playoffs. Low stakes for both teams. He expects the Skulkers to try and get some SPP from scoring, while Khazad-dûm will look to smash the heads in of the Rats. All in all, the Rats are going in the meat grinder, and he's predicting a 2-1 Khazad-dûm. And I'm one to agree. I think one thing that I've noticed since even I've played Chadwell is his ability to score has gotten much better. And now that he's got a pair of gutter runners that are actually developing, I think it becomes that much easier. So I think he definitely gets one past you. But in terms of the whole war of attrition across 16 turns, I just think it's just a hard ask. However, he does have 160 gold to try and bring something to the table. So who knows? But yeah, I kind of agree with Brando on this one. It's 2-1 Dark Iron, but hey, Skulkers can only really benefit, and so it'll be a good match, I think. All right, Mudclaws, Mighty Rats. Mudclaws are out of playoff contention, but the Mighty Rats are potentially in. They are going to be playing their game, but I assume they will be keeping an ear open for what's happening in other games to see whether or not they have an important match next week. But the line is set extremely close, but it does slightly favor the Mudclaws by 0.1 of a touchdown. And the analysts are leaning mostly Mudclaws, but Boomer is contrarian, saying the Mighty Rats still got it, and they get it done. What do you guys think about this one?
Interesting matchup. I think it's gonna be a 1-1, and I think these lizards are gonna smack some rats around.
I mean, it's definitely going to be it's definitely not going to be any form of a walk in the park match for the Mighty Rats coach or the Mudclaw coach. You got
No,
two
I think they
coaches-
are very
yeah.
evenly matched.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at 180k TV difference. Some play money, but not a huge amount. So he's going to be having to relying mostly on his team, him being the Mudclaws.
Mm-hmm.
But that means 6 sources and 2/3 of them being blocked sources. That's definitely going to be quite nice on the line of just kind of bullying, just generally just bullying the Rats team basically, and big guy versus big guy. I think it's going to be coming down to can the Mighty Rats gutter runners shift around the skinks that are going to be waiting for them, and it's basically just going to be an interesting brawl of a line of sources and medium-sized rats and big rat versus a bunch of bigger lizards, and then deeper in the backfield on either side is going to be a scrum of strength 2 guys, gutter runners and skinks alike, just ripping at each other and just trying to grab that ball. I'm predicting a whole lot of deep field deep field Kate scrums, and the ball bouncing from player to player to player, being caught, getting knocked out again, ball bounces again, then it gets caught by another player, they run back, it gets pounced again. It's just going to be a whole lot of deep field scrimmaging while there's just a line of beating on each other in the in the center of the field.
Mm-hmm.
I think for winning wise, really close. Honestly, I'm probably gonna have to give it to the. It's just close.
It is. It is an interesting matchup for sure.
It's a very interesting matchup because you have like the Lizards that have just a raw offensive line that can just bully the Rats line,
Mm-hmm.
for all intents and purposes, can just bully the Rats line, and has multiple pieces that can more or less keep up with the gutter runners. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if need be, they can catch the gutter runners.
Yep.
And yeah, so I think if they, I'm gonna have to give it to. I think I'm gonna go with Mudclaws on this one.
All right.
I think they can pull something out. I think this
Yep.
will be wild. I think they can pull something out.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, Brando's predicting a tie here, a 1-1. As it's just interesting because the Lizards, the other Lizardman team in the league, has beaten Underheim. There's a potential playoff berth on the horizon for Underheim, so there's a chance they play this game a little more passive, a little differently. But we all know, like, and you know, that's really what he has to say. For me personally, I think we all know what the Mudclaws are here to do. They have one definitive play style that they like to go, and it's extremely aggressive. And it is it's, you know, they chase, they block, they foul, they do everything just in a single pursuit of removal or disrupting the person who has the ball. So I think that could bite them a little bit here, but if they get on the right end of some armor breaks, like this could derail extremely quickly. They also have some cash, which is a little scary. I think, to me, if I'm Underheim, I'm a little afraid because of that fact. There's a lot of things that they could take to help amplify their killing potential. Because they're looking at well, it's 180.
180.
180. So
Not a huge amount of choices, but there are some interesting choices that could be.
yep. I just know, like, yeah, given their motives and what they want to try to do on the Blood Bowl pitch, like that, any cash you give them is a threat.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Mighty Rats still get this done because we saw a glimpse. We saw last week. We saw a hint of that that Skrunk Flint Reaver magic, and I think it's starting to come back. I think Crowcrest and Cindertail are starting to show glimpses of that Flint Reaver magic that we saw so many seasons ago. So I don't know. I think they pull it out in the touchdowns, but I think they get battered for it. I think it still goes to the Rats, but it may hurt their potential playoff match if they get one. All right. And finally, we get to talk about the match that you will see later today on February 5th. Ignore this because I didn't update it because I'm a dunce. Anyway, the Butcher's Bay Dragons will take on the Manhattan Mutant Mayhem. The line is set to the Butcher's Bay Dragons by a little over a touchdown. Yet the analysts are a little sideways. Aggie and Boomer say Dragons. Lucy says Mayhem. We'll start with you, Ivan. What do you think?
I'm gonna call my shot. I'm gonna win this 2-1.
Okay.
It's gonna be rough. Many bodies will litter the field, and Josh is gonna decimate my team. But I'm going to squeak it by sheer gumption
Yep.
and get a second touchdown in the late second half.
Okay.
And not only is he's really just calling his shots. He's like, I'm gonna be
Yep.
doing this.
Yeah.
They won't be able to see it coming. I'm doing this.
He's
Your
already
predictions are too boring and realistic. I gotta throw it all out there.
he's already wrote down the score sheet. It's just a matter of manifesting it at this point.
Yeah, I just repeat it over and over again,
Yep.
hoping it happens.
He's got every casualty, pass, touchdown like written on our score sheet that we use in the league, and then he's just gonna every time something happens, he goes, "Yep, that's exactly what I have written down here."
Yeah. My
Odd.
powers are working beautifully.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're looking. Man, no real play money, unfortunately. We're looking really just kind of just down to a team v team.
75K.
75K.
Yeah.
So some, but not a lot. It's few.
It's not going to decide the game. That's
No.
for sure.
Not even close. No. I think I love the confidence of the mutant coach's gumption and enthusiasm, and I implore and I agree with his position of you always bet on yourself, 100%. Just as an outsider looking in, I'm gonna have to probably go with the Dark Elf Butcher's Bay Dragons on this one. I think you're definitely going to be pulling off some wild moves that nobody, even yourself, can see coming. And I think you're definitely going to be like keeping him on his toes, like for sure. I don't expect to see a blowout game like the last one, ideally. But I'm going to say probably something along the lines of like a 2-1. Maybe a 3-1, depending on how aggressive Butcher's Bay coach wants to score. But, and then again, it's like if the Manhattan Mutant Mayhem start coming out swinging and they start getting a Kaz differential advantage early on, that could potentially swing the other way. But as of right now, I'm looking at like a 2-1, maybe a 3-1 in favor of the Butcher's Bay Dragons.
All right.
Ivan will remember this.
All right.
You should.
Brando's calling the 1-1 tie. He said this one's gonna be wild. The Mayhem have the true chaos factor that's seen them claw their way. I don't know if there was a pun intended, but I'm gonna assume there is.
It has all of them.
The chaos factor in this case is AKA the coach.
Yep, but they want to claw their way to a potential playoff berth. That said, the Butcher Bay Dragons want to keep the 2 seed and they want to stay healthy while doing it. So he's thinking the 1-1 tie there.
Yeah.
Now,
a lot of coaches are going to be thinking that right now. Yeah.
Now, when I look at this, this is interesting. The one thing I do want to say that I've only noticed with Dark Elf teams, and it's incredibly frustrating to me, very rarely does the TV end in a 5. And that 5K difference is so aggravating because it buys you nothing. Like every inducement is like 10K, 20K, or like 20K, like, you know what I mean? So that extra 5K gets you like a little bit more value and your opponent gets nothing for it. So the 75K means, okay, you have 70K basically. And I get just a little more value. I don't know why it's just Dark Elf teams that always seem to end with a TV like that. But that being said, y'all ever had Cold Stone Creamery?
As a resident former employee of Cold Stone Creamery.
Okay. All right. So you know how like the sizes work, right?
Like it, love it, gotta have
it.
You
got you like it, you got you love it, and you got you gotta have it, right? So when I look at this, I see Butcher's Bay Dragons, they're in, right? They want to get number 2 seed. They probably don't want to drop the number 3 seed. But those are things that they would like. They go into Cold Stone, they get to like it. Yeah, I'd like the number 2 seed. Thanks. However, the Mayhem, this is do or die here. They get in. They are desperate. They are thirsty. They want that sweet, sweet ice cream. They go in and they say, I gotta have a playoff berth. So I think they get it done because they come in and they take the big scoop and they say, I gotta have it. Simple as that.
And say, give me 2 more.
Yeah. They got to get it done here, and I think that
overfill the cup, put the leftovers in a smaller cup.
Yep. That, and then besides just making a dumb analogy, I think Leatherhead having Claw here is going to be huge. And just a big guy presence in general is going to be big when it comes to beating on a Dark Elf team. And Horns everywhere else gives you pseudo big guys all across the pitch. Yeah, so I think it'll be wild, but I think the Mayhem got to have it, and I think they pull off one more crazy thing to close out our regular season. So, but you guys can see that later today.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Anyway, that does it for.
Watch me cry on camera tonight.
Yeah. Anyway, that does it for Wartscenter. Anything else before we head out?
Thanks for whipping this up. I know we are all currently within shanty towns because all of our houses are closed down, but we really pulled it together as a community, and I appreciate that.
Yep. And then, yeah, I mean, stick with us. You'll see the match, and then next week we'll do our final regular season Wartscenter. So that'll be exciting, and new chapter as we get into postseason play. So yeah, I hope you guys have been enjoying it. This has been Wartscenter. You guys have been awesome. Thank you.
Bus.
Yes. More bus.
What?